The next issue opens where we see Frank Castle in the middle of an intense battle amidst the cannibal apocalypse. His opponent, the infected and starving Savage Hulk, who is out to make the Punisher his next meal. As he evaded the attacks of his relentless pursuer, he thought back to when Wolverine battled the creature during the early days of the infection. Having nearly taken the monster out, the key word here being nearly, as Hulk had managed to overpower the seemingly indestructible man, where he completely devoured him. Dude, can you imagine how explosive that trip to the bathroom was after eating a dude with a metal skeleton? Now Hulk knows what perhaps a fraction of what eating Taco Bell feels like. Knowing that nothing was indestructible, Punisher lured the beast right into a trap where he prepared an arrow crafted with an adamantium blade of the fallen Wolverine. Waiting until the Hulk charged at him with enough speed, Frank aimed and fired the weapon, which directly pierced the monster through his eye, going directly through his once thought impenetrable skull. Enraged at having been attacked like this, Hulk thrashed in the streets, seeking out Frank, but alas, it was too late. This attack did irreversible damage to the giant's brain, where he collapsed to the ground dead. Once again, this is another far-fetched kill, but man, this panel is cool. Looking on at his newest prize, Castle would go to claim Hulk's head and add it to his gallery. That is, until he heard a voice calling out for help in the distance. Tracking the sound of this voice, it led him to what seemed to be an old abandoned church. Making his way inside, Frank located a hole in the center of the building where he located a priest and a young boy, survivors, finally after all this time. Not believing his eyes, Punisher lowered a rope down to get the pair out, where he heard a noise behind him. Opening fire at the shadowy figure, Frank was soon struck from behind and realized this was a trap set up by none other than this world's Venom, who was all too delighted to see the man, saying that they knew he would come if God had asked. Not sticking around to hear a monologue from the slimy spleen sucker, Frank tossed his blade into the creature's chest, where Venom laughed off the attack, saying it would not faze him, where it made him think back to the time that he ate an entire SWAT team, and remarked that they were quite crunchy. Of course, this was all a methodical attack by the hunter, who said that the knife was a distraction, where he whipped out a pulse pistol from a slain Skrull and used it to cook the beast alive. Again, a kill I find very hard to believe, but still very cool. Hey man, if a standard Skrull packing heat can take out Venom in one shot, it's best that Tom Hardy stay very far away from the MCU at this point. With the priest and the boy thanking Castle for saving them, they would see that there was no time to chat, as they heard what sounded like demonic screeching all around them. Emerging from the darkness, we would see what appeared to be hundreds of infected, closing upon the men, ready to have their unholy communion. Telling the duo to run, Castle tossed several grenades at the horde, blowing a hole into the church, giving them just ample time to make their escape. As they walked, the father once again thanked the Punisher for this rescue, and told him that he, for quite some time, thought it was God's will that he never got infected with the virus. But now with Castle's arrival, he sees it as something more mundane. For whatever the reason, he and Frank were both immune. Making their way past Madison Square Park, Castle saw that something was wrong. He had come across one of the spots where he had buried Deadpool's dissected body, only to see that the grave had been dug up by someone else, with the body parts missing. Aggravated that he was going to have to kill Deadpool yet again, Castle told the men they had to move as he led them to his bunker. During their journey, the priest told Frank that he was running a soup kitchen in the Bronx when the plague had hit, sheltering and feeding countless people who had lost their jobs as a result of the rapidly declining economy. Keeping his faith and believing that things would get better, he would see that they would get much worse, as one day his kitchen was attacked by dozens of supers who brutally attacked and fed on those whom he was housing. Saving as many non-infected as he could, the priest served as the provider and protector of these people, even being forced to kill those who threatened the innocents. Man, what a Chad. This guy is Doom Guy and Jesus approved. However, as the infection spread, so many of whom the father had protected were either eaten or infected themselves, leaving only him and the boy alive. He admitted that his faith was certainly tested during this time, but he still maintained his composure and belief in the Lord, saying that this plague was certainly proof that hell exists, and if that were real, heaven must exist as well. Believing that it was God who sent Frank to save them, the Punisher, not exactly being the religious type, told him that it was pure luck that he just so happened to be there when he called for help. Still not buying it, the priest reassured Castle that it was the will of God, and despite talking like a hunter, Frank was still a good man and was human just like them. The priest would eat those words about 2 seconds later, where they would come across Frank's hideout, where he would see the dozens of heads of the infected whom he had killed over the years. Come on, man, I know it's disturbing, but it's kind of cool, right? No? Pray for me, guys? Later that night, once the priest got over Frank's unique lawn ornaments, the pair sat down to a cup of coffee, where the man told him there were indeed more survivors out there, but they were hiding, of course from the cannibal supers, and from Frank himself. Asking just why they would be hiding from him as he only killed infected, the father answered by saying that even before the infection, Punisher was pretty horrifying, and amidst these seemingly territorial tribal land wars with the supers, it presented the question, just how was Castle different from the cannibals? After serving the Punisher up with a piece of philosophical pie, he told the man that he normally did not come to this part of Manhattan, but he was checking the places that he had used as safe houses in the past. He believed that there were still survivors out there and asked Castle to help him, knowing that there was still somewhat of a soul inside of him. Before they could finish their conversation, the pair heard a similar voice behind them, which asked dear old Frankie if he could come out to play. Knowing this was the revived Deadpool out for blood, Frank told the priest to stay and protect the child, where he went out to confront the mercenary. Making his way outside, Castle would see this indeed was Deadpool, who certainly had seen better days, and asked the dude if he were down for a little chat. Not letting the dude finish his sentence of 100 synonyms on what a chat is, Castle unloaded on the man, who literally waved a white underwear flag of surrender, saying that he was not here to fight. Shooting the man all the way down a hill, Punisher prepared to blow Wade's brains out for the 34th time, where the merc told him that he was a mere messenger sent by a higher power. Giving the man 2 words before he pulled the trigger, Wade got right to the point, telling Castle there were indeed more survivors. Holding off on ending the dude, at least for now, Punisher kept up with the religious themes of this episode and more or less crucified Deadpool to a table where he demanded more information. Wade elaborated that there was indeed a bunch of people still alive and unaffected, but as the priest said earlier, they were in hiding. He went on to say that his master knew where they were, but was leaving them alive because he came to see them as Frank's tribe. Having come to respect Frank for his warrior ways over the years, this master wanted to meet the man face to face, one tribe to another. Deadpool did not even have to give the man's name. Castle already knew who it was, the elusive Patient Zero, the infected Spider-Man. Asking just where the wall crawler was, Wade gleefully told Castle that he was already here. A horrified Castle would then look above them and see the enlarged, monstrous form of the once kind-hearted hero having the child and the priest in his webbed custody, telling the man they needed to have a talk about salvation.